Right?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yeah. So my talk would be on Industry 4.0 and its interventions in healthcare. Uh, Largely, we are all our life are now touched by internet, and now we see the more and more use of internet, and healthcare is also not left far behind, right? My talk would be generic. It's like as Sir has told that uh, there are people from multiple domains today, and I generally refrain from talking about research and all in such talks. We will talk general, and at the end, if we can synthesize few ideas, what can be done and what. I mean, while we are going through the presentation, we will see that what are the pressing issues. I will also share a lot of videos are there, so which will take it as an aid for developing the understanding. And you might, meanwhile, I would suggest that you keep writing down the issues which comes to your mind and which all of us as a forum can together discuss at the end, and come up with few ideas where probably we all of us can, when we complete the lecture, we have some ideas with us with which you can go tangibly and then work on it with your students. So that's my objective of today's presentation, right? So, and you're always welcome to interrupt in between, and I would like one-to-one talk a lot. So, all of us know that we are at the precipice of another revolution, that's Industry 5.0. But then let's talk about Industry 4.0, which has happened in a very short span of time. So, if we look at previous industrial revolutions, where the first industrial revolution was more about development of mechanical production facilities, where we used water and steam largely, and then it took another 100 and more than 100 years to come up with another industrial revolution in 1900s. I mean, early 1780 something it started, Industry 1. Industry 2 was largely about the assembly lines and mass production. Henry Ford was pioneer in that Industry 2.0. That happened during the World War. So you one thing which we observe is that some uh, these overnight developments, they happen because of certain reason, right? So that was the World War which acted as a catalyst in the whole process, or in the whole Industry 2.0 domain. Then Industry 3.0 was again sluggish, like Industry 1 was sluggish, Industry 3 was also sluggish. So not that many things happened in that period of time, where 1920s till 1980s, it was sluggish growth. I won't say it was no growth, but it was sluggish because there were no such events like World War One and World War Two were there for as a human civilization. We That was a catastrophe, and to overcome that, we came up with Industry 2. I mean, of course, it was there. Henry Ford was there, and the assembly line was there. But then the catalysm was during those 10-15 years. So then we went to the automation and the programmable automation, which we talk about. Then Industry 4.0. So if you recollect, even if you find research papers, I'll show you one thing. Just give me a second. Let's go to Scopus and see, have we seen what kind of growth do we see? So I hope you are able to see my screen. Just a second. I'll share my screen rather than this. So I'm sharing my screen right now. So you see over here, let's say we go to Scopus and see Industry 4.0. Okay, so it just gives us an idea that we need COVID, World War, all these kind of situations to come up with the revolutions. if I say abstract only, or specifically if I say title, and we say Industry 4.0. So we have 8,000 documents, right? Now we look at if you look year wise, see 2012, 13, I mean 13, 21 documents, and you see this growth over here over a period 2023 already 201 articles, while in 2013, 10 years back, only 21 articles were there. And you see this growth has growth was there in 2019, and it is now even higher. You see, so that's what I was talking about, that COVID was a catalyst for Industry 4.0, where most of us were tied up with our homes. We were tied up in our homes and were not going out. So many new ideas were generated during that time. So the healthcare especially got boost of Industry 4.0, because you see, we were not visiting outside, but the diseases don't wait for anyone. They were still happening, and we could do teleconsultation was there, and there were devices which were there for to constantly monitor yourself. And these devices, now people started thinking, how can we make these devices accessible to the doctor in real time, right? And then one thing led to the other, snowballing happened. And what we see now is that people are doing operations. uh, I mean, they are operating while sitting in another country. So that itself tells the kind of metamorphosis of the whole situation which has happened in these years, last 3, 4 years. Now let's come back to this. So now we see that we are talking about 5G telecommunication. What impact will it have? Okay, and of course, Industry 5.0 is not about 5G. Just to clarify, it's about the bringing the human aspect, because Industry 4.0 we are talking about efficiency and constant uh, working and making system more efficient, less costly, real time, dynamic. But in this whole, where is the human? Are we sacrificing? So because we see, if you look into the corporate world, you would find one thing, that even with so much technology use, do you have, I mean, let's have a small one-to-one talk. I hope all of you must be having some connections in corporate world. So what is your general observation? Or with this technology, your life should have improved, or you should have been more relaxed. Are you? Do you think, or I don't know if many of us are, I'm not from corporate, of course, but I see participants. I'd like to ask participants if any one of you are from corporate world.
No, sir. Most of the participants are teachers and research scholars.
Okay. So, but then, of course, you must be having some, they must be having some people uh, who are uh, connected with the corporate world. So, I, I tell you about myself. Of all the people in the corporate world, one common thing which I observe is they are constantly stressed. uh, they should not have been. I mean, with the kind of technology which we are having, it is very fast, it is very responsive, it is very much, we are all very much connected. So why there is so much rush? I see a lot of rush in corporate world. Are you getting it? So I'm just telling why Industry 5.0 is coming. So Industry 5.0 is an aspect where we also consider the human nature, right? So I mean, that's not the focus of today's talk, but then it was just to clarify, because this, you see pink bar which is there on 2020, that's why we were talking about it. So uh, human beings living together with the technology. That's what we are looking for. Now let's have a small introductory video where uh, we see. So I'm going to share the tab because I think in tab only we can in this Microsoft tab only works properly. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Audible.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So we see here there are in this video we're starting look at this circle. We are looking at autonomous system simulation, horizontal and vertical system integration, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, big data, augmented reality, additive manufacturing, cloud computing. So these are the components of Industry 4.0, what this video is showing. So even before we go ahead, let's have a view from our participants. What do they perceive about all this? Anyone? Let's say we start from autonomous system. So let me have
Technology taking over human intelligence.
technology taking over human intelligence. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else who could say something about autonomous system? What is automatic system and what is autonomous system? Anyone? Okay. So I'll play the video, and as the time progresses, as the presentation progresses, we'll get to know all these things. So these are some salient features of Industry 4.0 like interoperability, information transparency, decentralized decision making, technical assistance. So I mean, technical assistance is always there. It's nothing new, but interoperability is something which is very important because if one system is interacting with another system, there has to be some protocols which are standard. So that becomes an very important aspect. Uh, so PwC, this all data which you see is of PwC. Now you look at it, this is a 2020 data, and you don't see healthcare in this. Can you see it? No. But then because of COVID, healthcare has picked up Industry 4.0 in larger way as compared to other sectors like aerospace, chemical, defense and security is there, chemicals, so all $1 billion, chemicals, engineering, construction, industrial manufacturing, automotive, electronics, transportation, logistics. So healthcare is very new, and it is a niche area to work in right now. Before 2020, I mean, this 2016, right? And after 2020, many things have changed. These 2016, again 2015 report, that logistic is 49%. It has significantly increased now. Right. So we come back to our presentation. Okay. So now we go ahead and you see these are building blocks of Industry 4.0 system, and this circle which you see is anyway there. System integration, and slightly beyond that.
Sir,
What?
sir,
Yeah.
sorry for interruption, sir. Prasanna, can you please zoom it further, sir?
I think I'm sharing full screen. I will share the screen again. I'll share the screen again. Maybe it
Yeah,
can be.
because the text are somewhat unreadable.
Okay, entire screen I'll share. So.
Yeah. So okay, good.
Again, yeah. So again the same similar slide which we have over here, which was there in the video, and we see autonomous robotics is there, Internet of Things is, augmented reality, which was not visible in that video, is here, because that video was of 2016, and now this this picture is in 2021 picture. So this augmented reality has made space in Industry 4.0. So it's not like the Industry 4.0 which was there, which was defined by the technologies in 2016, is the same in 2023. Lot has changed. Like augmented reality is something which has come up. Machine learning, which was not evident there, is there now, right? We see cloud computing, which was not there, and the RFID, which was not there, right? So these things are, and Industry 4.0 is still evolving with new technologies. Okay, we will talk about all these technologies in detail as the presentation progresses. So we see there are numerous examples of use of IoT-enabled systems which can be seen in day-to-day life. We are not untouched by it, and most of us are somehow or some way or the other are linked with IoT. Uh, can you people talk about something where you find the use of IoT in your life? A question from all of you is, do you think that the Google Maps which we are using is an IoT system? Anyone? The Google Maps which we are using,
yes.
an IoT system or not?
Mobile is IoT system.
Yeah.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Why do you think
Like
so?
mobile phone, because inside so many sensor embedded inside. I mean, like 4-5 sensor in mobile phone. So that is sensor based. So this is
And how it is
IoT based.
basically, if you want to know that what is the situation of the traffic in a given area, and how do we get to know? It is because of the use of IoT architecture, right? Your phone, multiple phones in a given area, because of the accelerometer which is there in the mobile phone, the Google gets to know the speed of the user, the physical speed of the user. So if multiple users which were going at a higher speed suddenly have a lower speed, their algorithm will pick up that pattern that in a given area the speed is there is a deceleration in that area. So it will show red color, right? So then we get to know. So this is all because of the IoT enabled systems which we can see in our day-to-day life. So similarly in Amazon store, you must have seen those places in videos or any travel blogs that there are no cash registers, there are no people to, there's just Amazon store is there, there are smart carts are there. I mean, whatever item you are going to put in your cart, automatically it will get added to your bill. Okay. And as soon as you move out of the store, uh, uh, Amazon, it will be charged on your Amazon Pay balance, right? So that kind of system is there, where there is no physical cash transition is happening. Everything is electronic, and there is no human required in that store. Okay. And then there is. Let me just show you. It is very interesting. I am not sure how many would have seen that. Has anyone seen that Amazon Smart Shopping Store? Okay, so I consider that to be no, and I'm going to share that video, which is very interesting, and you'll get to know about that. So just give me a second. I'm just sharing.
Global bank who wanted to crunch billions of transactions against thousands of compliance controls. So you tap IBM to unsilo your data, and now you can supercharge your audit system with AI. Let's create smarter ways of putting your data to work. IBM, let's create.
So I know that our topic is healthcare, but the initial first half will be generic, and then the second one I'm going to talk about healthcare. So right now we are exploring all around the world. Just a second. I think it is a slightly longer video. I'll just take a smaller one.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter.
So here, when you use the Amazon app to enter, you get logged in. The store logs into your account where they can directly deduct money, right?
And put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go.
Yeah, so I hope you would have got the idea where we are heading now. So, yeah. So this was the one which we are talking about, an Amazon store without cash registers or cashiers with the capability to charge users simply based on body movements, is something which is very much IoT and data analytic, and everything is being used over here with machine learning and all. Similarly, we see the use of Uber, Ola, and other car taxi apps, right? Now, there's one more another interesting video which will generate some ideas. Just a second. This is specific to fourth industrial revolution again, and
At the speed of light, technology is changing everything. How we live, how we work, even how we stay healthy. Soon you'll be able to live anywhere in the world and have access to world-class healthcare. Imagine specialists performing robotic surgeries in rural hospitals from thousands of miles away. Expert surgeons using fully immersive VR and AR to train hundreds.
So we are going to talk about these all technologies one by one. I mean, this is a generic about healthcare.
Hundreds of doctors remotely, all in real time. Portable IoT devices that gather patient data, allowing doctors to analyze and diagnose quickly, regardless of location. Sensors that continuously monitor patients and send an alert when there's an emergency. And doctors making virtual house calls and securely accessing patient data while patients recover comfortably at home. This is the fourth industrial revolution. And there's one company that was born to enable it, Lumen.
These are actually the big companies which are investing heavily in I4 technologies for healthcare.
Fastest, most secure platform for next-generation business applications and data with near zero latency that allows for doctors to do amazing things. Nearly 450,000 route miles of fiber across the planet. Edge computing that moves the cloud closer to you. And embedded security that proactively stops threats and offers peace of mind. At Lumen, we're helping transform practically every industry on the planet, from healthcare to manufacturing, to retail, to smart cities. Welcome to the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah, so again, it was slightly generic, but now we have introduced the healthcare also in the presentation. We go ahead. So what are the ingredients of an Industry 4.0 healthcare system? The first thing is Internet of Things. Now let's talk about it in slightly detail. So IoT is a term which we refer to any device which has network access. So any device which has network access could be your bulb, could be the camera which is there in your household, security cameras. It could be even your shoes, right? And your cars are there where we are like new technology cars where we say MG and Kia. These new companies which are new to the Indian market, they are offering these kind of technologies, and the sonography machines which we have nowadays are fitted with the internet, so that you can't do any malpractices with those machines, and that's government has put a check on that. So I don't find any device which can't be fitted with network, like the smart plugs which you have. You must have seen, like we are installing them with the geysers and the machinery which are heavy on electricity. So in order to save on them, or let's say you install a smart plug in your air conditioner. So when you come to your home from office, you can actually switch it on 15 minutes before even coming. So these smart plugs could be integrated with anything. So they provide more flexibility. One thing could have been you make your AC smart, like you connect your AC with internet, and then you can sit in office and do that. but then it takes away the flexibility. Though they introduced smart plugs which you can put in with the AC, and you can put it with your refrigerator, or you can put it with your security system, anything. So, and we see that it's not stopping here. It is just the starting, because India, I would not say all the countries around the world, India is still on 64th number. I mean, yesterday's report only that on internet speed we are on 64th in the world. So uh, there's a lot of scope in India, and we see now 5G has been introduced in India, so it will definitely make one way ahead of industry 4.0 technologies than what we have seen till now. Because I mean, we are hardly 2-3 months down the line, we are in 5G, and I'm sure none of us would have experienced, or very few of us would have experienced the 5G experience. But then that's the way forward, and we see that's happening. So once that happens, we will see that more and more usage of IoT-based devices will be there. And you can imagine our life is generally pretty simple now as far as our household operations go. Like, you don't have to stand in line probably anywhere, neither take it from railway or take it from retail stores. Generally, none of us are standing in lines if you are having a device, internet-enabled device with us. I'm sorry, I'm having a bit of a cold, so you might see that often. So yeah. So let's see one video where we get to know more about IoT, and not Industry 4.0 per se, but IoT more. Okay. So let's see that. I'm just changing the video.
Most crucial sector that can benefit from Industry 4.0 revolution. Industry 3.0 still deals with a lot of manual work and a plethora of unanswered and untapped segments that can be exhibited more with the arrival of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 can be summed up as a overall of integrated automation processes, smart machines, and manufacturing units. Use of robotics, process automation, RPA, and IoT along with medical specialist supervision as the ideal combination that can be the way to proceed ahead when it comes.
So, I mean, robotic process automation on one side and the specialist on the another side, and IoT in between will make the way.
Comes to the healthcare sector. Welcome to Force Edu, a place where all supply chain enthusiasts come for a weekly dose of knowledge. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, you are missing out on value-adding content. Industry 4.0 will facilitate various functions when applied in the medical field, mainly reduction of cost and time with superior accuracy and quality of work, better tools and material management, use of blockchain technology for the information management of medical history, vaccines, and medicines, which can be used for analysis at any given time. Complex surgeries can be completed with correct control processes. Customization of artificial organs will be more streamlined and successful. Help in more centralized database for the government to have more data-driven policies with better result-oriented solutions. The technologies introduced into the healthcare sector due to Industry 4.0 has provided a sense of security and consummation among the end users and the patients on whom they are used. Use of robotics in a surgery room where a doctor controls a robot from a computer sounds too sci-fi, but it is a reality now. Risky environments for the surgeons can also be avoided now. Big data provides critical insights for prompt and healthier dealing of an illness.
So, I mean, this
through meticulous data.
I mean, it's mostly about how Industry 4.0 is evolving the healthcare. So again, we continue, and now let's talk about another term which often people see being used, which is artificial intelligence. Now, question one is Industry 4.0 a part of artificial intelligence? Can it exist without artificial intelligence? Can artificial intelligence exist without Internet of Things? These questions come to our mind. So let's clarify a few things over here. So AI, what we say is simply handling the uncertainty. If a system can handle the uncertainty, just like humans can do that, can make decisions under uncertainty, we call it to be an artificially intelligent entity, right? So, and adapt means that you have not seen certain circumstances and then you adapt to it. So basically uncertain, right? So most of the AI implementations, such as chess playing, self-car driving, and chess playing is also a very preliminary or primitive form of AI, although it is very much rule-based. So if your algorithm only works on rules, then you can't call it to be perfect AI. Okay, so your chess playing is rule-based. If it extends beyond rules, okay, learns on its own, then it becomes AI. Okay, yeah. So I think most of us would be having an idea about that. So AI allows automation of repetitive learning and searching process. It gets automated if it is repetitive, and if it is not repetitive, there will be mistakes done by AI. AI is definitely going to do mistakes if it is not automated, if it is not repetitive. But over a period of time, it will adapt itself, and then the inaccuracies which are there are going to reduce over time. It's not like the inaccuracies will stay. In a perfect rule-based system, the inaccuracies don't converge. Getting it? I mean, they remain the same, constant throughout. So in an autonomous system, the inaccuracies evolve over time, they get reduced over time, and the system would create challenges for its own to develop, right? Just like humans do. So we use AI in form of digital assistants, chatbots, deep learning, ML. So these are all, I mean, chatbots is AI driven with the use of deep learning and machine learning. Now, another question which was that AI and IoT, what's the link between them? Can AI exist without IoT? Can IoT exist without AI? So IoT is an enabler of AI. What I would say is that if you have to, let's say, uh, if you have to scan certain image, right? So, and then you have to make a informed decision on the scanned image. For example, let's say you are scanning blood cells of certain patient. Now, while scanning the blood cells of certain patient, you have to make an inference whether it is cancerous, benign, or malignant. So then in that case, what IoT will do is the camera which is there in sort of a sensor, it will enable the decision making. At the back end will be the algorithms of AI, could be deep learning, ML, I mean, advanced ML algorithms, or could be your image processing algorithms, whatever is there at the back end. So here in this case, IoT is enabling implementation of those algorithms. So that's why we would say that IoT is an enabler of AI, right? So let's have a video where Microsoft is how Microsoft is using AI in healthcare.
It's the symbiotic relationship between the human and machine that brings the magic of AI to medicine in a meaningful way.
Now we have the tools to make a huge difference to human life. Cancer research is increasingly powered by data. Those data remain siloed across institutions.
So first statement you see over here of this expert is that the data remains siloed across institution, which basically means that data, let's say one hospital is there, they have been capturing images and doing their own homework, creating a database and a knowledge base. But this data never moved out of the hospital. So let's say around the world, if 20,000 hospitals are there doing this research and all of them can collaborate together and work on this data, then a lot meaningful outcomes can come rather than those working in silos. That's what it means.
We're creating a data ecosystem that allows people to share data and making sure that we're doing that in a way that still maintains the privacy of the patients.
While you are sharing that amount of data, the main concern is that patient data is very much anonymous, has to be kept anonymous. It can't be publicized because that's private to a person. You also would not like your health history to be exposed to your colleagues, right? So that's a critical thing. So their masking of the data becomes very important. So this is one issue which comes out of this talk which we are having.
With the power of AI, we can go after the unknown. And I can guarantee that we'll find something that nobody expected.
Sad infant death syndrome scares every mother and father, and it is a problem. We have to change. The collaboration with Microsoft, AI for Health, will help to start this next step of our discovery. Our data show very convincingly clear correlation between smoking and SIDS, and just changing behavior can save children's lives. You cannot measure the benefit of that.
It's a sad day when the patient comes in and I can't impact them.
Through AI for Health, we will be building an AI solution that can autonomously diagnose diabetic retinopathy.
So this is the new thing which is coming with the help of, because retinopathy basically means that with your retina only, they will be able to capture, we will be able to capture what kind of diseases are you suffering from, especially the chronic diseases. Because your iris has a lot of information in it, in image of the eye. So that's what it is going to do. Like you have your mobile phone is going to tell you in coming, I mean, we don't see it too far away. Within a decade, you will see that technology where your mobile phone will tell you that what diseases are you suffering from, or at this moment without invasive, like diabetes and patches are there nowadays to monitor your sugar levels. But then like blood pressure, you need that machine to build up the pressure. So that is also evident in your retina. So doctors around the world are working on this technology where they call it retinopathy.
With the portable camera, I can take healthcare to the patients who would not be able to come to us. I want you to look right here.
Going forward, we can address the 500 million patients that are out there and disrupt this disease. AI for Health and IRIS together can have that impact.
Today, there are 200,000 leprosy patients diagnosed every year. If you catch it in the stage of a skin lesion, you can cure the person. We are teaching an AI algorithm to recognize leprosy in an image of a skin lesion.
With AI, we can help patients help themselves to get to the right experts at the right time. If you can help a child.
Again, this is also the function of image processing, okay? Because skin lesions, no? So it largely is based on images and probably skin samples or kind of sensors which you run on the skin, and they will give you an indication of the underlying.
To not lose their fingers, that means everything.
Innovation comes from bringing different perspectives together. And what an amazing partnership this is for all of us.
When you see that you can make a big impact on somebody's life, that's the greatest thing ever.
We can help eliminate the oldest disease known to man and make history. That's how we want to contribute to the world.
Yeah, so this is 3 years ago. This video was shared 3 years ago. I mean, you still, it's in the nascent stages, and the kind of development which we can expect in coming 5 years will be enormous in this area. So we go ahead and now we talk about big data analytics. So few things which got cleared is that AI is a very big domain, and there are many enablers to AI. Like IoT is an enabler. Big data again will be an enabler to uh, the applications of AI in healthcare. And of course, so at the end, we would want to know that where does Industry 4.0 stand? Where does AI stand? Where does ML stand? And all these things. How do they stand together? And what are their individual places? How are they linked? At the end of the presentation, we should get that idea. Okay. So right now we take a break of 10 minutes. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we take a break of 10 minutes.
We will come back shortly. Sir, shall we start, sir?
Yeah, sure. Just a second.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay. So the problem which we were discussing now was that considering, okay, now we have so many sensors which are constantly sending data, streaming data, we call it. So how do we analyze our system? First thing is our algorithm should be fast enough. And when we are sending so much amount of data, what do we want? Why are we sending so much data? Why can't we just send data once in a day, right? So because we want it to be real time. We want to we want to capture the dynamism which is there in the system. That's why we want to send data through our IoT device to the server or to the machine, which is going to use this data to come out with the knowledge and decision making, right? So the problem here is that large amount of data, let's say you can imagine that there is a hospital which is having, let's say, 200 patients, and all these patients data is continuously streamed to the AI algorithm which is monitoring the progress of the patient. Continuously it is going, and it's going like 1 terabyte data per 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So this how does a server have that kind of capability to deal with that data? One server probably will not be able to handle it because of the processing limitations. Considering that we have our mobile phones which have the capability of supercomputers of 90s right now in our hand, but at the same time the landscape of data has also evolved. We are Every device nowadays is throwing so much data on the servers. How do we deal with that? So for that we have big data analysis. So it does not mean that you have large array. It means that you have dynamic data. Data is very dynamic. Data is constantly being fed. So your data, it's sort of like your Excel sheet is constantly evolving. There is no static data. And while it is evolving, you have to process it also. So that's what big data is all about. How can you break the data into multiple packets and send it to different clients to analyze the data and then come up with a consensus to make the decision, right? So that's what big data is about. So it deals with the large arrays of data, enabling derivation of information relevant to rapid decision making. Rapid basically implies here that you are talking about a dynamic situation where the data is evolving every second, right? So the derived data is transformed into relevant goal-oriented knowledge. That means that with that data, what do I want to do with that data? It's just not like, so 200 patients data is coming. So it's not like I just want to monitor their blood pressure. I also want to monitor their other vitals, which are probably pointing towards a certain condition they are in. Okay. So that way, there the AI comes into play where we talk about goal-oriented knowledge. So AI has the capability to work with a goal, just like humans do. So we say successful application of big data. We see in online trade where constantly data is evolving, like AliExpress, Amazon, eBay, because they have to stock inventories at different places. So according to the demand which is evolving in a given area, they can plan their inventory in advance. So there are technologies for image data are also rapidly evolving. Now this is another problem. So your data is not only going in form of Excel sheets or the numbers. Right now, like your cameras are installed everywhere. Consider a situation where in whole India, every street is having a camera, and they're constantly analyzing the suspects, criminals, or an activity which is not legal. So these cameras, they will be constantly sending not only images but videos in live, and then they have to be analyzed. So we are talking about that situation. That's why you see now we talk about quantum computing, because our processors, silicon based processors, have limitation of processing this kind of data, which is not in numbers but in, I mean, the image. Of course, at the end it is bits and bytes, but you need quantum cloud to do that. So there is very interesting video of Human Genome Project, which is going on at MIT. So I will talk about this one. This is pretty interesting because it talks about big data, it talks about AI, it talks about many things, the application of big data in healthcare. So let's talk about this one. So I'm sharing the screen. This is about the Human Genome Project at Stanford, not MIT, sorry, Stanford.
Stanford University.
We're extraordinarily thrilled to start a new center in computational, evolutionary, and human genomics. We believe there are many challenges that we face as a community in how we aggregate and analyze genetic data to address fundamental problems in biology, medicine, agriculture, and environment.
We just feel like we are in a position that we can address all of these problems with human health, human disease, using data, not just the data we're measuring every day, but the measurements we've been making for the past decade, sitting there on the internet.
The project that spurred this on is the Human Genome Project. The first genome to be sequenced cost about $1 billion. Today, it costs somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000. This means that we're now swimming in data. We can generate data far faster than we can analyze it.
This is a very exciting time for clinical medicine, and in particular for the application of big data. We're extremely excited by the rapid reduction in the cost of human genome sequencing, and we're already seeing that make changes to real patients here in the clinic at Stanford University.
We're currently what could be called the information age of genetics. Yet our biggest obstacles have to do with how do we analyze these data.
The big challenges with these diverse data sets is they come from different places and they're in different formats. Of course, we're trying to integrate them in a short visit with a patient at the bedside. We have to think, how do we pick out that one data point from 6 billion within the genome and make it available to a doctor who may or may not know about genetics, but definitely has an interest in prescribing individually, but in a personalized way for that particular patient.
For example, we can now take your genetic information and for some drugs predict whether you'll have an adverse drug reaction. So if there are two drugs that we can choose from, we can now choose the drug that won't make you sick.
So right now we are what they're saying is that the healthcare will be personalized. Right now, if I'm having a headache, you are having a headache, we are both having one common medicine, let's say Dispirin. Or if I'm having a fever, you are having a fever, we are both taking paracetamol as a common salt, right? So now what they're talking about is that they will make a profile of your genetics, and your medicines will be prescribed according to your genetic makeup. Okay, so that's what this project is about.
And so one of the big challenges to enabling this is that we don't have a centralized database with all the relevant human genetic variation data in one place.
So that's what they're talking. Now this is where we see that now is a time where all the hospitals, whoever is doing human genome sequencing, can contribute together in one project where the data of all the people around the world is there in one central place of human genetics.
So we need really, really much more straightforward
ways basically to combine data, to analyze data together, to relate these relatively large data sets.
Now you can imagine that people from Africa will be sending data, people from India will be sending data, different dialects, different culture. The data probably might not speak the same language. So filtering out the data, cleaning the data, that large data is again an issue. So these are some issues which come or the impediments in big data implementation in healthcare.
Other types. And that's why it's so important. And that's why databasing is everything.
So I view myself as a new kind of researcher today, a researcher that's interested in biology and medicine, but works at a dry bench, not a wet bench. Perhaps the wettest thing in my lab is the coffee machine. Everything else is dry today, which means I can work with cancer samples, samples from diabetes and other diseases in a digital form, because researchers around the world use technologies like this, high throughput technologies, to look at the DNA and the RNA and all the different molecules, and they have to share this data on the internet.
One of the major projects that we have in the laboratory is trying to understand global patterns of human genetic variation. How different are people from different parts of the world, and why might this be important for understanding the genetic basis of complex diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, and cancer?
What that gives us the luxury to do today is to not even just think about one kind of disease or one kind of cancer, but actually let's think about them all at the same time. And so what we find are interesting types of patterns. You know, here's this bowel disease, inflammatory bowel disease, right next to this seizure or epilepsy disorder. And why that's interesting is not just because of the science, but because some of the drugs that treat one of those diseases might be helpful in treating the other.
In my lab, we are committed to the public dissemination of the results that we generate. We
So in the previous one, he was saying that one medicine, because he takes one type of medicine, other condition also stabilizes. So finding out correlations between the different diseases, patterns between the different diseases together might give a different solution altogether.
Build tools that make it easy for other scientists to understand it, for the public, as well as for policymakers, because we believe that these results could be very important.
I think this is an amazing time to be in biomedical research. Whether you're a high school kid or a senior scientist or just a tinkerer in a garage, today, because of big data, because of big public data and open data, you have access to millions of samples. You have access to all the biological tools, all digitally obtained today, that you can make a difference. You can be the one that figures out how to tell who's going to get this cancer or this disease and what drugs we can use to do something about it.
We are all stakeholders in how genetic data is aggregated, interpreted, and analyzed. So we all need to be at the table. We need to have the public, we need to have industry partners, we need to have nonprofits, the government, scientists, universities. We all have a stake in this, and we need to come together and make the best decisions as a community.
For more, please visit us.
Okay, so we go ahead. I hope you would have got some idea about the use of big data. Right now, we go ahead in the presentation. Now that was about big data, and the next challenge in terms of big data for big data is not the bits and bytes of the numbers, but the images, right? Then we talk about the digital manufacturing and advanced material processing, where see now additive manufacturing is being used not only for manufacturing or prototyping the consumer parts or the automobile parts or the spare parts. They are also being used for prototyping the human skeleton, the bones, the structures of human, like if you are developing a prosthetic for human with different material you can play. So 3D printing is also playing a very important role. Now we talk about digitalization in machine. Now, what is the meaning of digitalization? Once you capture the data, you have the data in terms of bits and bytes about your things which are affecting the condition of a patient, right? So digitalization in medicine, what does it mean? It also means the operations part. Now, we've been talking about scientific managing, about identifying the disease, and mostly about identifying the disease. We've been talking about identifying and playing, using different tools to come up with a solution to that. But besides that, it's also about operations. Like in healthcare, you are running a hospital, and a patient comes to a doctor without any history. Doctor has no idea, and he may prescribe a medicine which might do some reaction. So later on, so digitization, what it does is, we call it medicine 4.0. It is closely related to industry 4.0, and describes the fourth stage in the development of medicine. Again, it's obvious. So you can imagine a situation where a patient walks in and all the data is already available. Like if let's say a very young kid for the first time going to the doctor, has whatever the symptom is, whatever the diagnosis is, gets recorded until by the time he's 50, 60. All that data is available with the doctor, and not only data, but this data has been analyzed, and the pattern in the deterioration of the condition has been tracked. So it can help doctor in diagnosing and prescribing that over a period what has happened, what is happening, and later on that's what's going to happen. So if this kind of information can be fed, or this kind of system can be developed with the use of IoT, with the use of big data, where you are doing real-time analytics on the patient data. Now, patient data is not static. Just to be clear over here, the patient data has been evolving over years. Like as I've said, first time the kid went to doctor was 3 years old, so that data is there, and what conditions he had. Only common flu and cold. But over a period of time, it started showing something which might have, if it might have been detected at earlier stages, might not have led to the present condition. So this could actually bring in big breakthroughs in the healthcare. So let's see a small video where we talk about this, what I've just said. So digitalization of healthcare is the same context which I just talked about.
So Severin, digitalization in healthcare is getting more and more real. Just how important is this for Roche?
It's incredibly important. If you look at how we develop medicines today, we primarily rely on clinical trial data. In future, we will have increasingly access to data from the clinical practice, from the real world. Diagnostics information, patient information, therapy information, outcome information. So there are huge data sets available we can dive into, and which will provide us with important insights to discover new medicines and to develop medicines in a more effective way. So it's incredibly important.
And are there concrete examples that we can point to where we see the benefit for patients today?
We recently developed a new lung cancer medicine, and we saw some clinical signals from the early clinical trials. So what we did is we compared those signals with data from the real world, and we could confirm the efficacy of this medicine. And in turn, we could bring it to patients much faster by accelerating the regulatory approval. So the impact for patients, it's real, and it is happening already today.
And what about digitalization and diagnostics? How is there a patient benefit there?
Diagnostics has always been about decision support, but what we see now is an exponential increase in the complexity of science and medicine. And as a result of that, physicians and patients more and more depend on electronic tools to help them master this complexity and to take better treatment decisions. And that's where we can come in, that's where we can contribute a lot.
And developing these types of digital opportunities seems like it would require a lot of new skill sets. How do we go about attracting the right talent to do this?
At Roche, it is all about making a difference for patients. It's about finding a cure for a certain cancer type. It's about making progress for a severe disease like Alzheimer. That's what it is about. That is what motivates me personally. This is what motivates all the employees at Roche. And I think that is what is also so attractive for people who join us from the outside. Yes, the digital tools are very important. Yes, we need cutting edge technologies. But what is even more important is what can you do with these technologies? What impact can you make for patients? And that's what we can offer at Roche.
Well, I think that is certainly motivating. And I want to say thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in the participants, do you see any more applications of digitalization? One example which we have seen, which I talked about, is that like you can have your historical data and then you can use it for agnostics and then see the progression of the disease over a period of time and then predict at the right moment, just like we do it in maintenance of machines. Anyone else who has some idea of how digitalization might help the healthcare? Yes, anyone? Okay, so we go ahead. I share my slide again. So now there's the second point is on-demand healthcare. So we see that consumers are increasingly using online platforms to obtain medical information. People would like to know more about their doctor, who they are going to, right? 38% would like to check a hospital and its medical facilities. 77% would prefer online medical appointments. They don't want to, I mean, it's slightly stressful if you go to a hospital and get yourself consulted with a doctor. In case, if it is possible, I mean, many of us would have already experienced the telemedication, right, in the COVID times. So this is one thing where we talk about on-demand healthcare, right? It helps in personalizing the healthcare. Then we talk about telemedicine, which most of us are pretty much aware about. So it enables support and care of patients in generally non-crucial state. I mean, if it's an emergency, if it's very critical, then you have to go to hospital to visit the doctor. But if it's not something pressing, then you can go for telemedication and minimize your contacts between ill patients. You can minimize your time, because if God forbid, if you have to go to a hospital, you'll have to spare half day at least for that, and which is very taxing on humans. Also, it is economic to do telemedication in most of the cases. So, especially in chronic, you can have telemedication because it's something which is recurrent and constant in your life. Technologically, this kind of telecommunication provided the direct transmission of medical information in various formats. So because if you are consulting a doctor, how would he know that what medicine he has written? So generally, what has happened is, because of telemedication, many doctors have developed their own apps. And once you have that app, you start developing a database also, where when was the last time you visited the doctor, what was the disease you were diagnosed with, and what was the prescription. So because of telemedication, all these things are on records now. You can imagine the kind of, once you are treated, you would not carry that hard copy of the receipt which the doctor wrote you. I mean, the prescription which the doctor wrote you. None of us generally carry it forever. But once these records are there in digital space, they might exist forever. So it also helps telecommunication actually brings in more digitalization of the patient data. So also transmission of medical information. Now X-rays are also digital and CT scans are there, video images, ultrasound. All these are now besides on hard copies and those silver bromide sheets, you have those in digital form, which is very rich data. There is a real-time video conferencing. I mean, most of us have done that. So let's see a small video where we see the impact of telemedicine. So I'm sharing the screen.
These days. Just think, 10 years ago, smartphones didn't exist, and while a select few had GPS, most of us had to use paper maps when taking a trip. Every day, the number of internet users increase, and everyone is more connected. Did you know that you can even connect to a doctor using technology? Telemedicine is a tool that allows patients to connect to physicians securely through the internet. Many different communities can benefit from the use of telemedicine, especially people living in medically underserved areas. Telemedicine provides accessibility to primary care and specialty doctors.
So it's not only the local, but it is also about you can consult international doctors
that may have been out of reach before. For example, meet Jackie, a young girl who lives in a rural area without a pediatrician. Through telemedicine in the school nurse's office, Jackie receives primary care and specialty care without leaving the school. Many people think the cost of telemedicine might not allow them to take part in programs like the one Jackie can at her school. In actuality, Medicaid and private insurance companies pay for telemedicine services the same as if Jackie went to the doctor in person. Her parents would have the same out-of-pocket copay expenses, but don't have to leave work, so it saves them time and money. Plus, Jackie is getting great medical care. Telemedicine can be adapted to fit almost all medical specialties. Primary care, mental and behavioral health care, cardiology, neurology, and a multitude of other specialists are provided via telemedicine. Schools, doctors' offices, urgent care facilities, hospitals, public health departments, and skilled nursing facilities are all starting to offer it. If you are interested in learning more about how to receive healthcare services via telemedicine, ask your doctor if there are options in your area.
Okay, so I mean, this was something which most of you would have experienced. Now we go back to our presentation. So this is telemedication. Now, because with all this data sharing and going haywire everywhere, the biggest concern of the people around in the industry is the data privacy and security. Because once the data is there out there, people can misuse it. People can sabotage your situation. People can take you for they could do bad things about people. They can make unsolicited, you can say, intervention. So which no one wants, right? So the patient data privacy is coming into play. So it risks the patient data privacy. So healthcare is a prime target for cyber attacks. Because a lot of data is there, your whole address, mobile, email, patient history, and so many different things are there, and where you are staying and how much is your bill, all these. And even with the continued investment in cybersecurity, still vulnerabilities remain. And medical devices which are always connected with the internet. See, if you get to know, like VIPs generally would refrain from giving their information about their health status. If such information goes public, it could create a lot of chaos, right? So this is one implication which one can see. So healthcare gadgets are generally not fully protected, and uh, you can see the device which we are wearing, like which is tracking our movement here and there everywhere. And I'm just giving my data to a company which is located probably in China, Taiwan, I don't know where, about my whole whereabouts, where do I go, what do I do, when do I do, when do I wake up, and some patterns, my regular day-to-day life patterns are there with someone. So you're totally exposed there. So this is some issue which is a pressing issue with the use of IoT-enabled devices about the privacy. So although it is given utter care now, but still the work is in progress. So anyway, this we have talked about earlier. We talked about, now we talk about augmented reality and virtual reality. This is also very new and upcoming area, and I see a lot of scope of research in AR and VR nowadays. So generally workers would use smart glasses warehouse in Google glasses, sort of Google glasses in warehouse, where they want to locate the objects, uh, where are they located, and it could cut down on their search time. So initially it all started with that, and then its applications were also there in aircraft production, where specialists are there, engineers are there, or where um, besides quality, you want to be doubly sure about the insides of the aircrafts. So AR helps manufacturers to precisely assemble and repair planes and to achieve more reliability during repairs. So virtual reality, although it started with gaming, right? Its applications were more in gaming rather than in real life. But now slowly it has made moves, and it is going to the tourism now. It's going to, if you want to be somewhere where not physically, but you need to be there and experience it in a more physical form, then we use VR headsets. So it's being used in autism to treat the children. So let's see how VR is being used in medicine. So this is about surgical applications of augmented reality, AR, VR, virtual reality, augmented.
Every day, surgeons rely on information from X-rays, CT scans, MRIs, and other patient records to determine the surgical requirements and the procedures they will employ to achieve the best patient outcomes. During a procedure, surgeons are often required to step away from the patient to view these images and records. Imagine if those same records could easily appear right in front of the surgeon's eyes without taking their hands or their attention away from the surgical field. Now imagine if those images could be used to create 3D models that allow the surgeon to determine the best techniques to maximize patient outcomes. This is all possible with a new augmented reality solution that utilizes the Microsoft HoloLens to support surgical procedures. Latin America's first surgical procedure utilizing see-through holographic lenses was performed successfully by the renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Abraham Del Real. This system was developed through a bold partnership between Accenture, Sky Group, and Christus Health Excellence and Innovation Center. Since the procedures and the press coverage of its success, there has been a surge in requests from patients, surgeons, and hospital systems, and plans are underway to expand throughout the Americas. It is one of the many ways Accenture is using augmented reality to transform the ways we work and live.
So this is one example where augmented reality was used. Initially, it was being used for maintenance and assembly, or let's say one has to do quality check on site without going on site. So that was where it was being used. Now it is being used more frequently everywhere in nook and corner. So another application, do you see over just a second? I think I forgot to share the screen. So this is another example where you see is that there is we want to test when there is an accident happens. So what happens to the skull? So sensor-based surrogate skull. I mean, we make a surrogate skull, and sensors are embedded. You can see here the wires are connected on the dummy, and then surrogate, and this dummy hole is actually there is a digital you can say twin of this in the virtual world. Sorry. So whatever happens, whatever stresses, whatever damages happens to the surrogate skull will actually be seen in the digital image, and this would help us in understanding better about the impacts of accidents on the human skull. And later on, probably you can develop helmet or another kind of protective devices which could minimize the effect or mitigate the effect. So you see here that they are trying to develop ways of mitigating the damage to the skull during the accident, after the accident, with the help of getting a digital twin of a human skull right here. And of course, you see these are 3D printed skulls. So you see application of 3D printing as well as application of digital twin in this. Then we talk about wearable medical devices, which are pretty modern. I mean, all of us are aware about the wearable medical devices, especially for heart rate monitoring and all. So it helps in collecting health data to monitor patients' health, right? These devices provide day-to-day health data and are active monitoring tools. Especially with the elderly, they can be used in a much better way. Smart watches with heart rate sensors and exercise tracking objects are there. So while you are rehabilitating a patient, you can always see that how's the progress. Is the patient complying to the requirements or not? So sweat meters are also there to diagnose the blood sugar levels nowadays. So we see a video.
In the old days, patients had to come in to see the doctor in order to talk about how their sugars were going or how their weight was going if they had heart failure, or how their breathing was going if they had COPD or asthma. Today, patients have access to wearables or apps or sensors that they can use at home. And all that information, at least in theory, could be beamed to the doctor that would allow the doctor to see how the patient's doing and monitor them and suggest a change in treatment. I say theoretically because herein lies the rub. If I'm a primary care doctor taking care of 2,000 patients, the idea that all 2,000 patients have access to these new data flows, wearable sensors, apps, they're gathering data on themselves, and it's all going to be beamed to me, the idea that that's going to be a wonderful thing that's going to make my life better is fantasy. So this is an area where we have to reimagine the organization of healthcare. In the future, all of this data will go to a smart algorithm that will say, all right, it looks like you're doing fine, keep doing what you're doing. Or it may say, it looks like your breathing flow has gone down a little bit, try increasing your puffer a little bit, and let's see how things go. In addition, there will be another layer, probably of people who resemble air traffic controllers, who are monitoring the digital data coming from 500 diabetics or heart failure patients or emphysema patients to see how they're all doing, and who can say, it looks like patient 3, 27, and 46 are having problems today. I'm going to have a televisit with them to see how things are going. Until we create those layers and reimagine the way the healthcare system goes, the danger here is all of this data just leads to data overload, and we're not using it in ways that actually improve care and improve efficiency.
Yeah, so this also gives a research idea that organizing the data and developing algorithms which can identify patterns in the data, this is something which can be done. Yeah, I'll share it again. So this is about the wearable medical devices, where it tells that theoretical word was very pressing, which brings out a lot of research ideas. Then 3D imaging and prototyping. Although we have seen few applications, but medical image processing and 3D visual. So let's see two small videos, 1-minute videos, which will be very much compelling for us to understand few more applications. So I'm just taking you to 3D imaging and prototyping.
And it just gave me this idea that human kinetics students, when studying anatomy, have these flat. Reading books at home with my daughter, one of her favorites was this pop-up book where the Princess Castle came to life as we opened up the center of the book. And it just gave me this idea that human kinetics students, when studying anatomy, have these flat textbooks that they use, and it's really difficult to follow the paths of muscles or relationships to other structures.
We are talking about converting the 2D images into 3D images, basically, with the use of scanners, 3D scanners.
So using the 3D scanner and the CNC printer to create these pop-up book structures for the students was an idea that came with my 5-year-old.
So it's the combination of 3D printer and the 3D scanner, which is coming up with these kind of products.
One of the initiatives of the Aspire project was to provide students with experiential learning opportunities, especially in the areas of anatomy and exercise physiology, exercise science. A picture's worth 1,000 words, so having a 3D structure in front of you to handle hopefully makes that learning stick a little bit quicker and a little bit stronger. This project looks to create 3D images using the STAR program's technology. We want to take those images and create a repository that students can access online, as well as lab assistants, teaching instructors. Generate some 3D models using a CNC milling machine, create these models out of foam, and then use those models in class. This project is a collaborative effort with the School of Health and Exercise Sciences, School of Engineering, Southern Medical Program, as well as some interest from other departments on campus, creative and critical studies, biology. So any program that uses sort of 3D spatial awareness hopefully will be able to access this technology and workflow processes to be able to bring this into their classrooms as well.
Okay, so we are almost at the end of our presentation. Okay, so I'll leave the second video for you to see later on. Yeah. So next we talk about is machine learning and deep learning. So it is an integral part of AI. So it's basically wherever we have seen that we're collecting a lot of data and we want to analyze those patterns. there is the use of machine learning and deep learning, right? So it helps us in extracting meaningful information out of the data in form of patterns or classification, or we talk about regression or clustering, right? So machine learning and deep learning are the tools. Basically, deep learning is also a form of machine learning only. So these are the tools which enable, again, like IoT, these are the enablers for AI. And in this summary, I would say that post fourth industrial revolution era, the term fifth revolution is there, where medicine 4.0 is still in nascent stages and is evolving. The future is there. How can we humanize the data, humanize the industry 4.0 technologies? That's where the future lies. So that's it from my side. If you have got any doubts, please ask.
Participants, you may please unmute, and if you have any queries, you please talk to him. And it was a very nice presentation, compiling all these videos and interfacing this to all aspects of Industry 4.0 and healthcare. So really, it was a fantastic presentation, sir. We enjoyed. I hope all audience would have enjoyed it, and definitely each of the domain what sir presented, definitely you can find a lot of research opportunities.
Yeah,
you can
definitely. And now that I have prepared this, so I can build upon this presentation and make it even more better over a period of time. And thanks to you for giving the opportunity.
Please, you can raise your queries if you have any.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Myself, Urmila. I'm from Amartha School of Business, Coimbatore. Thank you so
Okay.
much for this wonderful session on Industry 4.0 and digitalization in healthcare. And also, thank you so much for those wonderful videos, sir. I would like to know more. It was so informative to know the emerging technologies on healthcare, especially. And my
Yeah.
question, more than a question, I would like to put it in a way like to know your perspective from your experience, like on an Indian context, in applying all these technologies. Though we are progressing, like Indian health mission and integrated system. So, how far you see in Indian context that these technologies, and what would be the challenging factor to implement such technologies in future?
Yeah. So first thing which I see is that we are very much governed people. I mean, we like governance, right? So if government has to come up with a policy and then come up with some compulsions on the hospitals, that you have to capture the data, you have to digitalize every data of the patients. I mean, anyway they are recording it, but then once it is, so digitalization of the data, of patient data, and then storing it on blockchain so that it can't be tampered with and secure also, right? So that gives a very much, I mean, we are anyway having a lot of chronic diseases in our system. I mean, you see in India, we are good chunk of people having heart disease and diabetes. So if the data is constantly being captured, and I mean, of course, the technology, it's not very far away. I mean, these technologies have gotten a lot cheaper over a period of time. So this is the basic thing which we can do as a nation to digitalize the healthcare data. And it will definitely go a long way if we are able to do that. Our generations will be improved. Probably the genetic diseases could be handled in much better way.
Sure, sir. Thank you. I got this question because I see a lot of multi-specialities I mean, functioning in different cities. They still are not integrated, though they function the same name. They not,
Exactly.
yeah, they not work in a way of integrated or centralized manner. So I thought of asking you from your perspective.
Could be that, let's say a patient has taken antibiotic for 5 days this patient is not very much well aware about the medicines and all. He just takes whatever doctor gives. So if he goes to one doctor, does not get better, he goes to another doctor. Doctor gives same antibiotic to him again. So it's a very bad situation.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So could you
Yeah.
please tell something about, I don't understand the difference between the digitalized medicine and the precision medicine. Is that the same or?
Digitalized basically means that you are recording everything on in cloud space or in computer through internet. You are storing it somewhere. The data is stored. Digital, that means that instead of prescription on hard copies which get lost over a period of time, the data which is stored digitally remains for long.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Gunjan said there is a query in the chat box. A participant has requested to throw light on Industry 5.0.
Yeah, so Industry 5.0, I mean, although medicine is from a different aspect, in general, from industry point of view, initially I asked a question that how many corporate people have you seen with all these technologies and phone and connectivity and so much efficiency around, they are still stressed. So there is some problem with the technology which is keeping humans stressed. I mean, there was a problem with assembly line, the human was stressed. Industry 4, again, we see the humans are not still relieved. I mean, the whole idea of technology is to enable more humanity. I mean, bring in more humanity, bring in more uh, bliss to the humanity. But that's not happening. The workers are still stressed. So the industry 4.0, how can these technologies be progressed in such a way that the humans are not lost in the technology? So that's basically, so bringing in human aspect is the industry 5.0, which requires intervention of psychology in the industry 4.0, in the technology while you are using it. If you are using it in a given industry, and if you are you're checking efficiency of worker all the time by doing data-driven techniques, which is, you have to bring in some aspect of humanity in that.
So there is another question in the chat box.
Yeah, of course, security is, I mean, the prime concern when we are saying data sharing. People are coming with protocols and more checks so that the data doesn't leak or masking the data. It's still a evolving field. Like we are still not 7-8 years. You can say we are still 7-8 years down the line, very young in this digitalization world. So it's going to take some time for the privacy issues to be sorted out. And the thing is that we humans have only made the system, so we know how to breach the system also. So this will remain. The privacy issue will always remain, but to a more or less lesser degree. See, the medical data, if you look at it, there's no governance in that. I mean, that's what I talked about initially, that government has to intervene and make some laws regarding the data capturing. Then only the system will get trustworthy. So right now, if we look at Indian perspective, it is not there. If you look in Europe, it is very strict. I mean, people are not ready to give the data. They hand over the forms initially, but they don't give it. We Indians just through our information easily, but Europeans, American people, they are very hesitant in giving the data. Yeah, sure. Is it over, sir? I think we don't have any more questions here. Any more questions?
Any questions from our audience? Okay. So we have, Professor, we have some session on simulation actually. Fluxim Healthcare we have.
Okay.
So we are going to train the participants on building a simulation model.
That's great.
We have actually VR also, headset also available with us. Maybe if possible, we'll build a model and ask the participants to check with the VR headset. So we are exploring. We are trying to.
Oh,
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, we have. So anyway, you talked about virtual clinics. At least we make use of this opportunity to train the participants on VR clinics.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. We have session next Monday and Tuesday.
That's great.
Yeah.
So,
any other comments? Any other comments? Shall we conclude? Okay, Vinod sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Gunjan sir, thank you so much for sparing your time and delivering the lecture in this FDP.
It was a pleasure. I also learned many things, and I'm going to develop more on this presentation for future. Yeah. So anyway,
Fine, sir.
thanks.
Fine, sir.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Good night then. Good night.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir. Yes.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. Thanks for wonderful presentation. So I hope audience would have enjoyed. Thanks a lot, sir. We'll be in touch with you.
Sure, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, guys. Actually, let me share my screen and another 5 minutes just to quickly proceed with our plan. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yes, sir. Okay. So I have formulated the 4 groups according to the number of participants. I formulated 4 groups. In each group, I have added 2 research scholars and 2 faculty members according to your background. So if you see, there are industrial engineering students and then research scholars from different domain, and then I added people. So today I will upload this immediately after this conclusion. I will upload this in our team section. And there are 4 groups, and I am sharing actually as per guidelines. We have to include some articles. So I identified 4 articles. Actually, as per guidelines, 2 is sufficient for a basic FDP, ATAL FDP. So I have included 4 because considering the different background of the participants, those who are in management background, industrial engineering, the first 2 can be useful. So the one is patient flow improvement for an ophthalmic clinic, which got published in Healthcare Management Science Journal. So in this work, they talk about how to collect data, how to build a simulation model, how to validate a simulation model. And second work is about big data simulations for capacity improvement. So by coincidence, I have just taken ophthalmic clinic. You can there are plenty of emergency department, outpatient clinics, so many multi-specialty clinics are there. So you can make a choice out of these 4 papers. Second, the last 2 papers are about data analytics in pharmaceutical supply chain, and then waste management in healthcare supply chain. So please, I will upload all these 4 papers in a separate folder, and groups also will be available. So you may just read this paper, and when you come back to campus next week, you need to prepare a summary out of this 4 article, and you should make a small presentation or a discussion. It can be a discussion. So with that, I like to conclude today's session. Tomorrow we have 2 sessions, one by myself on modeling issues in healthcare supply chain, and then performance modeling and lean approaches in healthcare will be handled by Professor Vinod sir. So you have anything else to say? Otherwise, we can conclude today's session. Any other points to discuss? And regarding accommodation,
sir,
those who yes, madam. Yeah.
Sir, out of those 4 papers, summary has to be prepared for any one of it or all the 4?
Oh, yeah, that's what yesterday I told you about that. There are it's a teamwork, and there is a component of 15% for individual work. So you read the paper together, and I think yesterday in my presentation I highlighted that you have to make how you are going to apply this paper's content to your specific problem. So that carries 15 mark weightage, and all other thing you can work as a team and identify what are the key points addressed, what are the methodology reported, how this methodology can be applicable to other domain. Those things you can prepare and report. So I will share how to prepare that article summary also. The guidelines also I will upload.
Okay.
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 Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So we have only minimum participants, and we can effectively use this opportunity. Anything else? Shall we close today's meeting? If you have anything to say.